What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Trench Grenade channel. I am your host, the average CQB enjoyer that your mom said that we have at home. Thanks for watching. Today I'm going to be discussing the very foundations and basics of close quarter battle, or how to enter and clear a structure or a room. Today we're just going to be talking about some very basic rooms, okay, and some very basic rules to avoid getting absolutely killed while trying to clear a room. It's important to note before I even begin to try to cover this topic, it would take 80 hours to even have a basic foundation of instruction, of one-on-one or instructor ratio of 1 to 10. That means one instructor for every 10 students. It would take that ratio for at least 2 weeks to even give you a basic foundation in reality. What I'm going to try to do today is give you things to start the wheels turning, to give you some things to think about as you're beginning this, journey into learning how to thrive and survive in an urban environment. Okay, guys, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the sponsors or anything. Okay, Patreon, it's $5 a month. The amount of stuff I'm about to talk to you about and try to instruct you on is 11 years worth of the Army investing in me and what I have been taught as an 11 Bravo, okay? So with that being said, the Patreon is $5 a month. You don't have to do it, right? But what I'm gonna tell you is invest in the people that invest in you. Right now, I'm investing in you by trying to teach you how to survive in CQB. Not to toot my own horn, but I have some sort of experience to lead me to the point of my career and the point I am now, and the comfortability, I guess, of standing in front of this camera and trying to instruct you. So if you enjoy this content, just consider becoming a member of the Patreon. It'll get you access to a Discord server with about 460 dudes, okay, in our community. A few gals, I guess, but people you can stay up late and actually, train with, okay? Find people in your local area, all that good stuff. Instagram, okay, it'll be linked down below. Check it out if you want to see behind the scenes stuff and you want to see all the lifting and stuff like that that goes into this. And PSA, they're the sponsor of the channel. If you need something for training or whatever, try to use my link and it'll help out a little bit. Okay, so where to begin? First and foremost, we'll just talk about the very, very basics of CQB. Let's talk about kit setup. Now, some of the things I'm wearing on purpose to articulate the point of readiness. So to even begin to talk about CQB, we got to talk about kit setup, okay? And we're gonna get into the why in a second, but we'll just knock kit setup right out of the park. And just to preface any of this is gonna be a long format. I'm not gonna edit this. I'm gonna try to leave it in its entirety. Hopefully the audio comes out normal. I'm just using a regular iPhone to film this. So hopefully the audio comes out just normal. It'll be a little echoey or whatever, but the purpose of this video is just to articulate the basics of CQB, and it's gonna be a little bit more of a serious tone, to kind of get you guys, just get your mindset, right? Just get your mindset going. So, kit setup. You don't want to run a shotgun for CQB. You want a semi-automatic rifle. You want something in the neighborhood of 11.5, okay? So just get all that all out of the way. You want body armor. The basic requirement to enter and clear a structure is going to be front and back plates, and a lot of times rear plates. So I would not be wearing this kit as my civilian kit. I would not want to wear this kit if I was going to get into a gunfight in a building. I would want to wear my work kit, which has side plates and soft armor in conjunction with hard armor, okay? It's the same footprint, but this minimalist plate carrier would be a little bit smaller than my work kit, okay? So if you're going to enter and clear a room, you need to have front, back, and preferably side plates and a ballistic helmet. I guess mine's up here. And a ballistic helmet, okay? Doesn't matter which one, needs to be able to stop handgun rounds at least. All that armor and stuff is doing for you is just going to give you a second chance at life. And we're going to talk about the realities of CQB throughout this video, but it's just a second chance, okay, guys? It needs to be slick. You need to be able to fit through small areas in a hurry, okay? You need to be able to move in and around people and in and around structures with your kit. So it needs to be minimalist, whatever side your handgun is on. I have two handguns out here today to articulate how you want to set up your holster, because that is going to be a major part of this discussion, okay? Is going to be holster setup and kit setup. But if you take anything away from this, if you are going to have to do CQB and you have the opportunity to prepare and plan for it, you need to have minimalist kit set up with body armor. For holsters, well, I guess you need to have direct access to your holster. You need to have a handgun. The reason you need a handgun is your second chance at life, okay? It's your lifeline. So your handgun in CQB is your second chance. Your rifle goes down, you simply rotate that thing out and bring your handgun out and get to work, okay? But yeah, you need to have a handgun. Now let's talk about holster setup. For your holster, you need to have some sort of retention device, okay? This is a Safariland that has the thumb release on it. The reason you want a Safariland, preferably one with a hood on it as well. I took the hood off of this, but for retention, okay, you're gonna be bumping into people, and you're gonna potentially have to fight for your life in a hand-to-hand combat in Minecraft situation. So you want your weapon to be retained. I'm rocking, this is a T-Rex Arms with no retention device at all. It's nothing against T-Rex Arms. I love their stuff, but I would not be caught dead with the T-Rex Arms holster because it doesn't have a retention device. I hope that makes sense. I'm sure even the dudes at T-Rex Arms would understand that you need a retention device, okay? So something like this Safariland holster, I don't know the model, but basically, Safariland doesn't know who I am, but I've used them throughout my entire career, and yeah, they're awesome. So if you're gonna do anything for CQB, minimalist kit setup, front and back plates, side plates, handgun needs to have a level 2, preferably level 3 retention, and you need to have a semi-automatic rifle with preferably an 11.5-inch barrel and a red dot. Hopefully that's enough kit talk. I'm done talking about kit. If you have questions, be a patron or something. Shout out to my Patreon members. You can just ask me, okay? So yeah, don't rock a shotgun like I'm set up for right now, obviously for civilian uses, because I've been filming shotgun stuff for you guys. All right, let's take a drink of coffee. Next thing we're going to talk about is where my resume and where all this information is coming from, because I think it's important to know if you're going to receive information from a random dude online, okay, where is he coming from? That way, if you disagree, you can at least know, okay, well, that's his background, that's where he's coming from, this is why he's saying it. I disagree, but that's okay. We can have a reasonable discourse instead of just, I don't know, screaming it in the comment section. Someone's gonna get mad that I'm drinking Starbucks. Whatever, it's freaking on the way, okay? Here we go. So, where's my expertise and where is my knowledge base coming from? I've been in the Army for 11 years. I've been in 2 airborne units, and the reason I specify the 2 airborne units is you don't really do a lot of CQB in a mechanized unit. I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds on Army doctrine or anything, but in mechanized infantry like Bradleys and stuff, you don't do a lot of CQB, you do it here and there. But in an airborne unit, right, so I've been in the 173rd, and I've been in Alaska. It was 425 when I was there in 1G. Now it is 211 or something. But the reason I say all that, and I've attended multiple CQB courses. The most notable one would be the ISTC basic CQB course. If you don't know what that is, all it is a bunch of special forces direct action dudes that take a group of typically sergeants, staff sergeants, okay, tactical level leaders. They take them through a 2-week course, and typically it's a 1 to 10 or so, 1 to 6 typically instructor ratio, and you just shoot a lot of bullets and you clear a lot of rooms, and you get shot by simunitions and you shoot live rounds in and around teammates, and you do a lot of stuff, high stress stuff to simulate actually doing it for realsies, and you learn a lot about yourself. And the reason why I'm telling you kind of my background and where I'm coming from is you got to know, okay? You got to know you got to vet the people you're receiving information from. If you're getting your information from bad sources, you need to not listen to those people. So that's why I want you to know, kind of beating a dead horse and going down on a tangent for this, but I want you guys to know my resume a little bit so you can either take it or leave it. So if you hear something you don't like, leave it. If you hear something you do like, take it. Okay, so CQB. You saw my previous video on don't do CQB is basically what I said. You shouldn't be doing CQB. It'll get you killed in the streets. All that is still true. But for today's video, we're just going to assume you have to conduct the enter and clear of a structure, okay? You have to, for whatever reason your mission said, or if you're a civilian, which most of you are watching this, or a law enforcement officer, and you have to conduct enter and clear a structure, well, hopefully some of this will help out along the way, okay? So we're just assuming that going in. So if you're down in the comments and you're like, just don't do it, well, for whatever reason, the mission dictates we have to do it, and that's why we're going to talk about it today. All right, so let's talk about some basic fundamentals. The first thing I want to talk about is silence, violence, silence. Silence, violence, silence is exactly what it sounds like. It means when you're moving up to your corner fed or your center fed, you're not out there having a conversation and you're not lollygagging, okay? It's completely silent using hand and arm signals. A lot of times what you'll see is if you sit inside of a room during training and you listen, you're going to hear people scraping up against the wall. Their kit's not set up accordingly, so they're maneuvering to the entryway, okay? And all you're going to hear is their kit scraping up against the wall or they're making a ton of noise. In reality, it's really hard to keep an infantry squad or an infantry platoon, an assault squad, we'll just say an assault squad, okay, to keep it simple. It's hard to keep those assaulters quiet. All right, they're wearing body armor, they're going to the gym. Typically, they're 200 or 180 to 200 freaking pounds, and they're working out, so they're going to be heavy, right? With all their kit on, they're going to be pretty freaking heavy. But the point is, silence, violence, silence. So if you're maneuvering, and your contact hasn't happened yet, you need to be freaking quiet. No talking, no brushing up against stuff, no falling over, okay? Walking heel to toe, but moving quickly. Violence, the violence part. So CQB is inherently terrifying. What I want to happen right now is I want you guys, if you've conducted enter clear a room, battle drill 6 or CQB, whatever you want to call it, if you've done it, if you're a law enforcement officer, okay, or you've done it in the military, I want you to get down in the comments and I want you to let these guys know how freaking scared you were, because anyone who's actually done this for realsies, they know it is terrifying. And an easy way to tell if somebody is full of shit is if they're out there telling you, I wasn't scared, whatever. No. So if you're law enforcement, get down there and tell these guys that are watching this video how freaking scary it is. It's terrifying, okay? But with that going said, the violence and silence, violence, silence is exactly that. If you're entering to clear a freaking room, and there's another person in that room that you perceive is a legal threat to you and you're supposed to be there, we're just gonna, by the way, none of this is legal advice or anything like that. This is just for educational purposes only. So don't tell the police I told you to do any of this. This is just for Minecraft, right? But if in your Minecraft server you're entering and clearing a structure and the person in there they're trying to kill you, you're trying to kill them, you need to be more violent than them. What that means is, and I'll give you guys a quick anecdote, and that's what this is going to be. It's going to be a lot of me talking, so if you're not here for that, just go find another video. Go watch someone mag dump into trash. It's okay to do that. This isn't the video for it. So, violence. Let me tell you guys an anecdote. Growing up in the Army, it was always beep, bang, bang, throw the weapon on safe, and put it back down. It's called a controlled pair. The reason you do a controlled pair, one, it's life insurance, because another bullet doesn't cost that much, right, in the overall scheme of things. So if you pulled the first shot. The second reason is, after that first round impacts, the hydrostatic shock. If you don't know what hydrostatic shock is, go look it up. After the first round impacts, the second round is basically what's going to do the killing for you, unless the first round hit them right in the eye box or hit them in the heart, or the brain, okay? So that second round is basically where the hydrostatic shock comes from. It's going to really do some work in Minecraft for you. I'm going to say Minecraft a lot because I don't want someone to take this out of context and go out and do some crazy stuff, right? So, controlled pairs in the violence. But the reason I'm telling you that is it's not just a controlled pair, okay? Typically, you're going to want at least 5 rounds, okay? And if you go watch any video of someone actually clearing a room, you're never seeing bang, bang, and there's, and then they throw it on safe and throw it down. No, it's normally a whole lot of freaking hammering rounds into the intended threat, okay? So I say that for the silence, violence, silence, you need to be violent, okay? You're going to be scared. If you don't believe me, everyone right now, just pretend like there's somebody in your house. If you pull into your driveway or wherever, or your apartment, and there's somebody in your house that has a weapon. You don't know if they have a rifle, it doesn't matter. There's somebody in your house with a weapon, you don't know where they are. Imagine how terrifying that would be, okay? And if you've experienced it, if you've done it for work, or you've had someone break in, and you'll know how terrifying it is. So I just want to articulate the violence and silence, violence, silence. You need to be extremely, extremely violent. if your mission and you're morally and ethically supposed to be there to conduct that violence, you need to be violent in Minecraft. All right, silence. That means after the fighting is done, you're not out there yelling. If anyone's ever done any amount of training, normally what you'll hear is silence, a ton of machine gun fire and rifle fire, grenades, everything, goes off. And then what you'll hear is a really junior leader that's hyped up with adrenaline. All right, they're hyped up, they're hopped up on adrenaline, they're running around the X trying to get accountability and trying to get security set, and they're screaming. And you'll oftentimes hear a more seasoned squad leader or the platoon sergeant tell that person to shut up. The reason is they're not following silence, violence, silence. Because if you're out on the objective, you're running around, you're screaming your head off after the violence has been conducted, that's how the enemy is going to be able to call for fire on you. That's how they're going to know where you're at. So if you ever have to do this for realsies, silent moving up to the objective or moving into the room. When it's time to be violent, when the breach happens, okay, you make entry into that room, or you're doing the work, do the freaking work violently, as violent as you can, and know you're going to be scared going into it. Fear is okay, okay? If you've ever fired live rounds in a room, fear is okay. If you've ever done a live fire exercise or done this for real, and you see people, after the first round goes off, they start to kind of shrink into themselves, all right? I had my buddy, I was a young E2 in the Army, and he was an M249 saw gunner, and we went into the room. I had to go left, okay? I was number 4 in the stack. So 1 and 2, I'm going to show you in a second. 1 and 2 went to their points of domination or their area that they were supposed to be. I had to go left as well, right? Because right would not work. I was doctrinally supposed to go right, but there's no wrong answer when it's happening. So I went left. Well, his saw started ripping off a freaking 7-round burst, and his saw was right next to my face. So I went from my super high speed, grip on my rifle like I was trained to do, and I kind of shrunk up. The reason I'm telling you that is things happen quick. When the violence and everything happens, when you start hearing, if you're in the same room as somebody firing a weapon, one, it's going to be loud. Even if it's suppressed, it's loud, and you're going to shrink up, okay? So just know that going in as part of that violence aspect. And then silence, once the fighting is over, be quiet. Don't be that guy on the objective running around trying to set security, just out of their mind, letting the adrenaline take over, and then they get freaking blown up because they don't know how to control their emotions after the violence has happened. All right, let's take a coffee break. Okay, so far we've discussed kit setup, needs to be streamlined, retention on the handgun, we talked about body armor. As far as a real rifle, you're going to need a 5.56 and 11.5. I covered that. 9mm handgun. I like Beretta. I like Glock. Okay, staccato. Pick one. Make sure it's reliable. Doesn't matter. Okay, and we talked about silence, violence, silence. We also talked about fear. All right, fear going into actually doing this in real life. Okay, it's not like the movies. It's not like a video game. It's for reals. Okay, I'm going to say that a lot to try to articulate the point. Okay, so let's talk about a couple more basic fundamentals. You can't clear a room by yourself. I'm gonna say that again. One-man CQB is not possible if you want to live. Anyone teaching one-man CQB, they're trying to get paid. All right, if you're going to a one-man CQB course, they're just trying to get paid. So just know that going in. A good way to become dead is to do CQB by yourself. Ask any cop that's had to do it by themselves. They'll tell you they'll never do it again, probably, if we're being real. So one-man CQB, not a thing. Minimum 2 people. There are stories from Iraq of dudes in the 101st, 2 dudes having to clear an entire mansion by themselves. By the time they got out of there, they're shrunk up on their weapon because they're freaking muscle failure. Because holding a weapon out is something they don't talk about. Eventually your non-firing hand just keeps coming back. If you look at pictures in Fallujah, that's why their non-firing hand gets slowly back to the point where they're holding onto the magazine well, because they're exhausted, okay? So minimum of 2, I'm gonna tell you, just to clear a basic house, you're gonna want a platoon. And I'm gonna tell you why. the more the merrier, okay? When you're conducting CQB, you're gonna have people that end up getting dropped off, if that makes sense. So if the stack is moving and there's a closed door, you're gonna wanna leave somebody, preferably on that door, because you're always gonna flow to the open doors first, okay? So you're gonna go to the path of least resistance. So if you're taking notes, that's point number one, path of least resistance and constant flow. But everyone in the stack is gonna be trying to find work. So the reason why I say the more the merrier, because if we're moving up and there's a closed door, somebody in the trail or whoever has security on it is going to hold that spot. Everyone else is going to keep moving to the open, the point of most, what's the word I'm looking for? The path of least resistance and the biggest threat. Okay, so whatever open door, open area that you see, you're going to flow into that spot. But you have to leave somebody, preferably, to hold that security, unless you don't have the people to do it. If you only have 4 people, then fine, you got to keep going. But if you have enough personnel, you're going to leave an operator holding that spot, okay? Getting kind of down a rabbit hole there, but I just wanted to articulate the more the merrier, and one-man CQB is a no-go. So if you're trying to do it by yourself, if you're like, what if my kids are in the other room? That's like the only time. But just know the odds of your survival have drastically diminished if you're going to try to conduct any sort of clearing a room by yourself, much less a house or any sort of structure. Okay, and we're back. So there's typically 2 types of rooms that they will teach to kind of get people's heads going. A center fed room and a corner fed room. The only difference is the point of entry. All right. Typically, you want to clear a room, like I said, with a minimum of 2 people, but if you can get 4 barrels in there, that's fine. 3 barrels, that's fine. Today we're going to talk about 4 barrels going into the room. The reason I say barrels is because people don't matter, barrels matter, right? All right, so let's talk about some basics, and then as I discuss and as I kind of draw this out, I may go down a rabbit hole. That's fine. If you don't want to hear it, this is probably not the video, like I said before, because I'm going to be trying to articulate as much as I can remember without using my notes, right? So, a 4-man stack, it's going to be pretty simple. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, the team leader, doesn't matter where they are, okay? Typically, a lot of schoolhouses will say, well, the team leader should be number 1 because they dictate if we're going to enter or not. Or the team leader should be number 2 so they can control number 1 to make sure they don't enter, and then whatever. I'm going to tell you this. Whoever is on point makes the decision. So if you have if all your buddies, civilian buddies, are untrained, you need to get some training, because whoever is number 1, they make the decision. All right. If number 1 gets to the entryway and they're like, yes, or under night vision, yes, right, with their laser, okay, then they're making entry. So if number 1 goes, everyone follows. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So number 1 is always going to dictate if we're going in or not. We can use different hand and arm signals if we're ready. A lot of times you'll see the lasso, okay? And I'm not going to talk about too much stuff that's still being used, but you'll see, laser, yes, under night vision, right? Night vision laser means yes, or everyone yes, or you can use the squeeze method, which just simply means reach back, non-firing hand, squeeze, and then everyone will reach back, non-firing hand, squeeze, and then when it comes back up to the front, okay, we're going. Does that make sense? So it'll go from the front guy all the way to the last man, all the way back up to the front. Now, what a lot of you guys are probably thinking right now as you're sitting on your couch or whatever you're doing, or hopefully you're time thefting from your boss at work, is, well, isn't that going to take forever? And aren't we going to lose momentum going in? You will, right? So you need to be paying attention and finding work if you're in the stack. If you're number 4 man back here and you're not paying attention and you're pulling rear security and you turn around and they're all gone, well, you need to be paying attention, okay? But the most preferred method is going to be the nonverbal, yes, we're ready, or the lasso, okay? The least preferred method is going to be the squeeze method. I do not like the tap method. The tap method is just simply what it sounds like. It's just tap, right? Why? Why is that the least preferred? Well, because people are going to be literally about to shit themselves, in the stack because they're about to go into a gunfight in a room with another person. Humans are inherently very intelligent, right? Most people are very intelligent and are capable of extreme violence. So if you're about to go into a room with another person that has the intention to kill you, you're going to be very scared. So you might accidentally bump into somebody, right? Does that make sense? So the least preferred, and I would not utilize it, is the tap method. The most preferred is just simply, yes, we're good, but here's something to consider with that too. If your job is the entryway, if you're number one man, and your job is, your only thing in your entire life is to hold security on that door. So if you find yourself number one man in the stack, your life, all the years of training, your marriage, your girlfriend, whatever you got going on, none of that matters anymore. Your whole purpose in life is to hold security on that door until you go into the door. So if you find yourself holding security, you will hold security until you have cleared that area, or someone comes up next to you and physically moves you off security, right? So if your team leader or whoever comes next to you and they hold security where you're holding and they tell you, they indicate you to move or tell you to move somewhere else, that's the only time you'll ever leave security if you have security, okay? So if you're number one man, your whole purpose in life is going to be to hold security on that door. So it's going to, if you're just sitting here shaking your head yes, or lassoing yes, it's going to be on the rest of your teammates to be like, oh, we're good, we're ready, right? Million ways to do it. You need to rehearse it. I'm just trying to articulate methods that have worked and what has not worked. I'll tell you a story. We've all seen it. I'm going to lean on my experience a lot, okay? It's going to be a lot of like stories in this video, whatever, right? Unfortunately for you guys, I've already hit the gym today. I still got caffeine running through me, and I got nothing else to do other than try to help you guys out. So, anecdote about making entry poorly. So, moving up to a doorway, everyone else is not ready. Number one man gets the bump. The methodology that we had been using was the tap or bump method, right? I'm sure we've all seen this where everyone leans back, everyone leans forward, and then we go. Problem with that is people lose their footing and then they fall down in the stack. So don't do that. Don't do this weird rocking motion. We've all seen it. Imagine there's a bunch of dudes in a stack and they all lean back and they all lean forward and go together. I don't like it, and I'm going to tell you why. Dude makes entry by himself, and guess what? A lot of times he'll do simunition rounds, right? So kind of like really, really spicy paintballs. Yeah, they suck. Goes in there by himself. Not only did it get lit up, they were in there. They were in the suits, right? Combative suits, so they ball them up, right? So had that happen in real life, he would have went in there. Not only got lit up, he would have got whatever bad stuff would have happened because now he's in a room. They're going to get him out of there, or the enemy's going to do whatever they're going to do with him. So don't make entry by yourself, and one-man CQB is stupid. So talked about the tap method, talked about the squeeze method. Don't do the tap method. Don't do the lean method. Do the squeeze method, but most preferred is lasso or nod. The more you know. All right. Guys, if you need to dissect this video in parts, you can do that as well. It may end up being a long video. Who knows? Okay. So we have our preferred team to enter a room. We'll say 3 to 4 people. You'll see why in a second. Let's say the hand and arm signal has been passed back. Yes, we're going to enter. We'll say it is a open door, to be very simple. Open door. First, number one man is simply going to take a whatever step that they need to see with where their eyes go, their muzzle goes, in through that doorway. They're going to engage. Let's say there's a bad guy right here. If they see a bad guy at the 12, they will engage on their way. So they're not just going to step into the doorway as they're moving and sit there and hammer them. They're going to step, hammer, and keep moving. And we'll tell you why. Because if that number one man steps, hammer, and ceases movement, well, everyone else is going to be moving with him, right? So they're going to bump into him. And guess what's going to happen to that dude? He's now standing in what we call the fatal funnel. The fatal funnel is any doorway, entryway, a window. All the cops are like, yeah. And right now they're watching this like, oh, I know all about the fatal funnel. Yeah, because you have seen it and done it. So never stand in front of doorways and never stop in a doorway. Always stand to the side or move through and then go around, okay? So, number one man, bold step. As they're moving, they're just simply gonna take that step in, hammer, hammer, if they have anything in the direct 12, and then they're gonna dig that freaking corner. You're gonna hear that a lot throughout this video probably, but they're gonna dig the corner. Number one man is never wrong, okay? So if you're number one man, you're never wrong. If you want to button hook to the right because you feel more confident, so you go in, hammer, hammer, and then button hook right, you're never wrong. Everyone else is just going to go off of you. It's not a big deal. Don't overthink it. So number one man should, though, go path of least resistance, but they're never wrong. Path of least resistance in this particular case means he goes in, hammer, hammer, and then he immediately digs this corner and then clears the rest. His sector of fire, if he ends up right here, will be like that, okay? Number two man, they're just gonna do opposite of one man. However, if number one man comes in, hammer, hammer, and digs their corner, number two man is not hammer, hammering. They're gonna come in, drive to the opposite corner, okay? So in this particular case, number two man is gonna immediately button hook, dig that corner with his eyes and muzzle, and then work back across the room. So what it will look like is they come in, dig the corner, they end up right here, they clear this corner, clear that corner, and eventually engage that guy. Does that make sense? So we'll talk through that one more time because this can get confusing. And it's not an insult on anyone. It is just I talk quickly and you may not be able to see very well. Looks like you can see just fine. Okay, so room. That's a horribly drawn room. What am I doing with my life? Here's our room. We're just gonna do it with two people for right now. Number one comes in. If there's a bad guy here, we're gonna call them tangos and we'll call friendly sierras, okay? It's typically jargon that we've used or terms that we've used to differentiate. So let's say there's a tango right here. Hammer, hammer, dig that corner. As his eyes and muzzle clear it, he's moving on. He's gonna physically end up somewhere around here. He cleared this corner, he cleared this corner, and his sector of fire is gonna end over here, all right? So in theory, what it would look like for number one man is he flows in, takes that step, hammer, 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 digs his corner, moves all the way back, and guess what he's gonna do as his muzzle comes back across this tango? Hammer, 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 okay? He's gonna hammer him again. Now, number two is gonna come in. Most of the time, what you're gonna get taught is they're not gonna hammer the 12. They're gonna button hook because they gotta protect number one man's 6, right? Because they're in there by themselves. You're gonna have to kind of imagine this. All right, so number two man's gonna come in, button hook, dig that corner, and end up somewhere around here. And guess what? After they hit this corner, then they're gonna engage that tango. So what it will sound like if we're making entry is literally dramatic step from one man, bang, 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 bang. Two goes back around. By the time they get back, the number one man's muzzle gets back to the tango. You should also be hearing number two man, because he's already cleared his spot, hammer, 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 hammer as well. Does that make sense? So you'll hear, in this particular case, if done perfectly, number one man engages, gets to their spot, number one man starts engaging the guy again because it gets back to his sweep. At roughly the same time, number two man should be getting to that point of their scan with their eyes and muzzle, where their muzzle goes, their eyes go, and where their eyes go, their muzzle goes. So when they get there, it should be both of them converging and eliminating this threat, okay? Now, if you have questions on basic two-man entry, post it below. But basically, number one man is never wrong. If number one man goes left, number two man goes right. Number one man clears the fatal funnel and digs the corner. Number two man immediately digs their corner, okay? All right, I want to talk about center fed, but I want to talk about it with 4 people. Guys, remember, hit the like button. Actually, make sure you're subscribed. Do all the stuff. Leave a comment. Okay. Number one, we're going to make it super easy. Bad guys right here. Number one man. Let's say they choose to go left. Bang, bang, bang. They're walking normal. They're not doing this. Walking side to side. They're literally, if I'm going that direction, I'm just going to walk that way. If I need to scan to the left, I'm literally just going to move my body that way, okay? You hear about footwork all the time. What they're trying to articulate, I don't know what these people are trying to articulate, but what they should be trying to articulate is don't do this bouncing left foot, right foot game, like almost like shuffling. What they're trying to tell you is just walk normal, but if you need to, for some reason, move your body across, you can just walk normally. Just walk normal, okay? You've been walking your whole life. You don't straddle walk down the street, okay? So if your muzzle has to go a direction, just simply move your body that direction. Guess what? You can walk forward and backward pretty easily. It's not a big deal. Try not to cross your feet, but guess what? Just walk normal, okay? So walking normally, one man is going to enter, engage this tango a couple times in the fatal funnel, move to their point of domination. They have 1 point of domination here, 2 and 3. Okay, that means their eyes and muzzle are going to clear 3 spots. So 1, 2, and 3. Number one man will end up somewhere around there. And to make this look cleaner, what I'm going to do is just put a number 1. So number 1 will end up over here. Number 2 will go opposite and end up over here. Number 3 will go right here, and number 4 will go right here. Now, notice, number 3 and number 4 did not stop in the fatal funnel because we don't want to stop in the fatal funnel because bullets go in fatal funnels. So they step out of the doorway. Number 3's muzzle goes straight to the 12. This would be number 3's. This will be number 4's. This will be number 2's. And this will be number 1's. So everybody in the room, everybody in the room will have engaged this tango. Now, I want you guys to think about that. Let's talk about rules of engagement, okay? If this tango right here has a weapon and they're in this room and they're in your sector of fire, you should be engaging them. What that means is, I'll just say it again. If you go into the room as number 4 man, you get into your spot and you sweep your area with your eyes and your muzzle, and there's an enemy combatant in your sector of fire with a weapon, you are going to shoot them. Now, I can already physically hear the keyboard. What if Geneva Convention? Okay, this is what the Geneva Convention says. And also, don't do war crimes, they're bad. But guess what? If your forward line of troops have not crossed the enemy combatant, then they still pose a threat, you can engage them at will. Has our forward line of troops passed this enemy combatant? No, it is not. They are not technically an enemy prisoner of war at this stage. So if you enter a room, even though you've already heard 1 man, 2 man, 3 man, probably engage them, when your muzzle is in and your eyes are on that threat, you engage. So there should be a lot of bullets on this tango. Now, we're not doing target overmatch or overkill, right? But we're engaging as necessary to end that threat. So if you have ever heard an army shootout, it often sounds like bang, 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 bang from a saw. A freaking saw burst will go off. And if the saw gunner doesn't feel like the saw burst was effective, they'll give him another 5 to 7 round saw burst. So what that looks like is if an enemy is in your sector of fire and you have not, if it's not gotten to the point, and we'll talk about it in a second, it's not gotten to the point where they're an enemy prisoner of war, then you engage them, okay? Yeah. So we will go through corner fed. Corner fed. It's the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 man's never wrong. They go the path of least resistance. So in this case, 1 man will come in. Okay, and he's going to end up somewhere right here, right? He could even end up over here. It doesn't really matter. Number 2 man is going to button hook and come over here. Number 3 man and number 4 man. Most important thing is nobody should be going over here, because if somebody goes over here, they're going to get possibly, if someone's not paying attention, fratricide, blue on blue. Okay, so I'll go through it one more time. This is a corner fed room. I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence. I just want to make sure we are all on the same page. Corner fed. Hopefully you guys can see. All right. Stack. Bad guy. 1 man comes in, ends up right here. 2 man opposite, somewhere over here. 3 man and 4 man. The biggest thing is, if it's a corner fed room, you're not going all the way up. Okay, you want to stay on your part. You never want to overlap muzzles. You never want to risk blue on blue, because it's already inherently a very dangerous situation. Okay, so this is just basics. The basics are interlocking sector of fire. This is number 1. It's going to look kind of crazy for you. Number 2, number 3, and number 4. It's kind of hard to articulate, but the point is, you still have your sector of fire. It's going to be 1/5 minimum, preferably 45 degrees off your buddy's muzzle. So if I'm sweeping and I see their muzzle, I'm not going to obviously flag them, which means aim at them. I'm going to stop at least a fist width away from their muzzle. That way I don't flag them, because if they're moving, you see what I'm saying? So preferably 45 degrees, but if you need to bring it tighter for a shot, you might want to know what you're doing, but that's the reality of it, okay? And all sectors of fire should interlock. Let's take a quick coffee break, and then I just want to talk about priorities of work in the room. All right. We'll do a center fed room to make it relatively simple. Okay. One massive center fed room. All right. Here's our center fed room. I'm not an artist, bear with me. We entered, right? 1 man, let's say it ends up right here, 2 man, or 3 man, 4 man, and 2 man, right? 2, 1, 3, 4. If the guy in front of you goes left, you go right. If someone makes a mistake, it's not the end of the world. So if the guy in front of you was supposed to go right, but they went left, who cares? Move on. You just go the opposite, okay? So if 1 man came up here, and then for some reason 2 man wasn't paying attention, and they end up over here, that sucks, but 3 man will just go right. So just go the opposite direction of the guy in front of you, and if someone makes a mistake, who cares? Move on. Just go the opposite direction. Obviously, you can talk shit to him afterwards, but it's not a big deal. Just go the opposite direction of the guy in front of you and know where you are on the stack, okay? And even then, it doesn't really matter. If the guy in front of you is number 1, you know you're going to button hook the opposite direction and clear that corner, and, it's going to be the same thing. As long as you understand the basics, you can actually execute it, okay? And as long as you're not out there sidestepping, right? Okay, hopefully everyone's paying attention. All right, so we're in the room. We'll keep it very basic. We smoke this tango. It's going to be very simple, okay? So you got into the room. It's going to be very simple. Clear high, clear low. Okay, what that's going to look like is everyone's laser aiming device, okay, or IR, or whatever you're using, okay, or muzzle if it's during the daytime. Everyone's going to clear high. They're going to clear low. Okay, after that, you should see everyone's muzzle do it. Okay, so you should see your teammates out of your peripheral. Clear high, you're looking for dead space. Dead space is just areas that we can't see. So maybe behind a couch, behind a cabinet, a door might be halfway open, or there might be a doorway in your sector of fire. So as you're clearing high, you clear low. If you find something, you're just going to hold it. What I mean by hold it is you're going to keep aiming at it. What that's going to tell your teammates, if they're all clearing high, clearing low, and they're giving their I'm good, their nod, right, with their muzzle, after they cleared high, they cleared low, good to go. But if they just see No, you're just holding it. You're holding a doorway, you're holding a window, you're holding dead space. You're just gonna hold it, dead space. Tell them what you got, right? Because remember, silence, violent silence. You're not screaming it or freaking out, but you're just gonna hold that spot. So, to keep it simple, so everyone's on track, you get into the room, you get to your point of domination, clear high, clear low, okay? Once you're good, good to go. Next thing, check the living, check the dead. Gonna keep it super basic. Guys, check the living means I cover, you search. You're making sure that the living, anybody still alive, is detained and unarmed or disarmed. So if we just came in, bear with me, the pre-workout's wearing off. If we just came into this room and we all smoke this tango, we're not going to clear him unless he's still moaning and groaning and laying around and doing things that people do when they get shot. Okay? But if for some reason he's still alive, remember what we talked about earlier. If they're a threat, you should be engaging them. So I'm just going to leave that there. You kind of use your deductive reasoning. But we cleared high, we cleared low. Nobody had any extra stuff. Nobody's just standing there, so we're all haloing yes. What that means is we're going to check the living, and then we're going to check the dead. So checking the living is simply a Sierra, okay, or a dude for whatever reason that's still moaning and groaning. So I cover, you search. Searching is simple, making sure he doesn't got a grenade under him, okay, so roll him over. If he does have a grenade, roll the body back down under and get away, obviously, roll away. Because grenades, when a grenade goes off, it explodes up and out, like an ice cream cone, okay, up and out. They don't explode sideways, typically. So when you're clearing the living, I cover, you search, and you have a grenade or something under that body, try to put the body back on top of it, but get low and get away. Get low and get away. If you have a helmet on, put your helmet towards the explosion if possible, and cover your vital organs, but just know grenades explode up and out, almost like the Y squat, right? Up and out. Okay, so if you can get low with your helmet, obviously you don't want your face on a grenade, but as far away as you can, reasonably, with your helmet towards the explosion, well, it's going to minimize your bad day, because it's going to be a bad day, because when a Mark 18 goes off in a room, it's already like concussive enough, especially if it's unsuppressed. If you've never been in a room with rifle fire, well, I don't recommend it, but if you have to do it, hopefully you got electronic ear pro on, because it will rock your world, okay? A Mark 18 unsuppressed in a room, or an M249 saw with a short barrel and a ripping 7-round burst next to your face, that's probably why I'm deaf in my left ear. But yeah, it will like rock your freaking world. So anyway, grenades, if you're searching the living and searching the dead, you see the grenade, try to put them back on it, get away, put your helmet towards it. When you get as far away as you can, obviously, typically, they say 5-second grenade fuses last 3 seconds. It's kind of the Army's joke, right? Typically a grenade will be around 5 seconds. But the joke is 5-second fuse lasts 3 seconds. So, to do with that information what you will. This isn't a grenade class by Trench Grenade, all right? Even though it is turning into that. So, we searched high, we searched low, we cleared the living. What that means is making sure they are detained. Flex cuff them, okay? Make sure they don't have a grenade on them. Make sure they don't have a weapon on them. Take it away. And then we clear the dead. Clear the dead is a little bit unsavory, but you're going to muzzle thump them, okay? You're going to muzzle thump them in an area that is not going to be comfortable. Just put it that way. You're going to muzzle thump them in an area that it will not be comfortable. There are several parts on the body, but yeah. You're going to muzzle thump them to make sure they're still dead. Check under them, okay, to make sure if I'm covering and you're searching, I'm in a position where if I have to engage, I can. If they start reaching for a gun, I can just bang, 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 right? Like a freaking rap song. And I'm not going to accidentally shoot my teammate. So make sure if I'm covering you, if you're over here, I'm not going to stand like this, because then I can't shoot the bad guy. I'm going to stand in a position where if that guy starts to become a threat, well, I can re-engage, right? And I don't accidentally smoke my teammate. But when you're clearing the dead, all you're doing is simple muzzle thump, okay, to make sure they're actually dead. And in Minecraft, in the video game that we're talking about, and then you're just going to remove their weapon and check for a grenade, okay? Yeah, the reason you're doing a muzzle thump is so you don't have to detain them with flex cuffs, and you don't have to worry about them. Yeah, okay. So I think that's about as much. Oh yeah, and then you're gonna restack. If you had an open door, you'll flow into that next door. Once everyone's ready and stacked on the new door, you'll simply stack up on the door and flow in. Don't take knees in rooms unless you have a malfunction. Okay, don't take a knee in a room, because if you take a knee in a room, what has to happen is, if you have a malfunction in a room and you transition to your handgun, okay, well, your teammate is going to move to your spot to physically stand over you and cover you. That's the only time you take a knee. And if you have to stand up, once you get your malfunction on your weapon corrected, when I say your weapon, I'm talking about your rifle, okay? Remember, because your handgun is your lifeline, right? But your rifle is your life taker, okay? So once your rifle's good, hey, come up, coming up is what you'll say, something like that. Coming up, and your teammate will physically grab you and pick you up. The reason that is because if you just stand up in a gunfight in a room, guess what's going to happen to the back of your head? Okay, I'm not going to get too much deeper into that, but that's why if you have to take a knee in a room, if you have a malfunction, right, if you're going to your point of domination, click, no bang, go to your handgun, take a knee. Once that guy's no longer a threat, stow that handgun, correct the malfunction. Coming up, your teammate will physically pick you up, okay? Don't just stand up in a gunfight. It happens. It's unfortunate. That's why we don't stand up. You wait for your teammate to be standing over you, and they will say, come up, and they'll pick you up on your drag strap with their non-firing hand, okay? Malfunctions, we talked about a lot. It's honestly, guys, it's too much to cover in just one video. So what's going to have to happen is you guys are going to have to ask questions. You're going to have to get down in the comment section. You're going to have to ask questions. It's the only way for this to really work, because I can't just sit here and teach everything. If you want another video like this, request it. Request that I do another video. Yeah, guys, I'm not gonna go too deep. I kind of want you guys to think about what we've discussed so far. If you have questions, I want you to ask. I want you guys to help each other out in the comment section. I want you guys to not go out and try CQB. If it can be avoided at all costs, do it. I would not encourage you to ever actually do CQB, but if you have to do it, hopefully some of these things that I know will help apply, and you can apply them where they fit and hopefully avoid dying, okay, in Minecraft. Guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. Consider becoming a member of the Patreon. It's only $5 a month. It's like a cup of coffee a month, and it helps me stay motivated to stand here and talk to you guys about CQB, okay? Check out the Instagram channel. If this channel gets destroyed, deleted, whatever, you guys can always be over there on the Instagram, and that's where I post all the behind-the-scenes stuff. If nothing else, guys, just like the video. If you got this far, like the video and leave a comment below. If you have done this in the past, I want you to share your experiences down below to make sure guys don't end up in a bad way, okay? Thanks for being here, guys. I got nothing else for you. Hopefully this was helpful. Until next time, this is going to be Trench Grenade, your average CQB enjoyer that your mom said that we have at home, signing out. Cheers.